Welcome to Sports from the Couch
I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
with your host, Mike Mercado.
Players cannot stand him. Coaches cannot stand him. Most importantly, the fans can't stand him.
Brought to you by Mercado Airwaves.
I'm gonna say it once, and hopefully I'm wrong, but it's a disaster waiting to happen.
That is so bad, that is absolutely brutal.
Hello and welcome in, friends, to another edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado, and I want to thank you so much for making us a part of your day on this Monday, May 10th, 2021, in the beautiful city of Chicago. I hope each and every one of you had a beautiful, successful, awesome Mother's Day weekend. All the best to you and yours. This is a hard time of the year for a lot of people. So if you are having a hard time during this season, we're sending our love to you. And as always, we thank you so much for making us a part of your day. And on today's episode of Sports from the Couch, I want to talk about what's going to happen to the Chicago Bulls if they don't make it this play-in tournament and make the playoffs this season. What exactly does this mean for the roster? What does this mean for the superstars and the coaching staff? I want to tackle all that and so much more. But before we do that, let's take care of some housekeeping notes. Make sure you're following us all over the socials. I'm on Twitter at MikeMMedia, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and you can follow the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. That's Couch Sports Talk. You can also follow the network on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're at it, please like, rate, review, and share us wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. You can watch the video format of this show at YouTube and at Facebook at Mercado Airwaves and at Mercado Airwaves Network. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. It really helps us, and we really appreciate communicating with you guys face-to-face on the comment section. That's youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. Thank you guys, of course, for all the support. But with all that down and ready to go, let's talk about these Chicago Bulls right here. First thing I want to hit on is, let's say they don't make the playoffs, right? Because we know, even though they're on this 3-game winning streak, Zach LaVine is back. Vucevic is playing awesome like he's been since, forever. Kobe White has stepped up. One of the questions that I wanted to tackle right off Jump Street, if this Bulls team doesn't make the play-in, doesn't make the playoffs, what are you going to do with Lauri Markkanen? See, Lauri Markkanen is this player, and I've said it, he has all the tools, and I know he wants to be great, but he hasn't. And there is a clock to this thing, right? Like, these things have expiration dates. And with Lauri Markkanen, this 7'1" unicorn that could shoot three-pointers, you don't find that everywhere. But it hasn't worked out here. And I really do think that in a certain scenario, in a certain situation, a change of scenery, Lauri can work out. And Lauri can be a player in this game. I also think that there's a chance that he's going to cost a GM their job, because he's going to get paid a lot of money, especially in this offseason when a lot of teams do have cap space and not as many superstars to pay and to give that money to, because a lot of them are back with their teams that they never left. You know what I'm saying? So you're at this point now. Well, what are you going to do with him? And I think, to me, this is just, and again, I'm not a savant. You know just as much as I do. But to my dumb little eyes, when I see Zach LaVine gone for 15 games, in the COVID protocol, Kobe White stepped up. Whether or not he's your starting point guard moving forward, we could talk about that in a little bit. Whether he's your Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford, whatever he ends up being, you have to admit, in that string of games, when he was asked to take more of a load of this offense and to step up, he did. And he continues to find this chemistry with Nikola Vucevic. And a lot of that had to do with when Zach was gone, he stepped up. Lauri didn't. And I think beyond all this, from Lauri being in the starting lineup and not taking advantage of it, Lauri being the main guy in the bench and not taking advantage of it, and then having Zach gone and not taking advantage of it, it could work out anywhere else. But we've seen enough of a sample size with a good head coach, with game plans that we've seen obviously work when it comes to player development. We've seen it with Kobe in our very front of our eyes. That didn't happen with Lauri. So, yeah, you could put some blame on the coaching staff And whether Billy Donovan got the best out of Laurie or whether he hurt Laurie's, mental because of telling them we really don't have much for him. But obviously with Kobe, it didn't work that way. Kobe responded and made Billy Donovan not only put him in the starting lineup. Who's out there when the game is on the line these last few games? When the Bulls need to win, it's Kobe White. That's huge. So I know there's a lot of people who like Lauri Markkanen, and I know a lot of us feel there's no reason for him not to be great. He's got all the tools. It's just not working out with him as a Chicago Bull. And when you see the comparison of how Kobe has developed compared to Lauri, it starts to bring you to the biggest question, I think, of the offseason for the Chicago Bulls, and that's what is going to happen at point guard. If you can find yourself getting like a Mike Conley, that's amazing, right? Because I don't think you're looking for a point guard that's going to go off and put up 30. This team doesn't need that. This team has 2 All-Stars that could get theirs whenever. They have a Kobe White who's a spot shooter who could just not only create his own offense, but can go off for 30 points off the bench. Like, just filthy. And you got rotational players like Daniel Tice and Thaddeus Young that you have professionals in this rotation. So you don't need this guy that's going to ball out like a Chris Paul. You need somebody like a Mike Conley who's going to take this mentorship role. And I think Joe Colley even brought this up, is somebody that's going to help Zach LaVine take that last step into superstardom. That's what this Bulls team needs. I don't know if they're going to get lucky enough to draft a point guard. But I've seen and I've heard the conversation about, well, you could go get Suggs, or if anything, the lottery balls fall your way. My issue with that is you're looking at a 27-year-old in Zach LaVine that you're going to have to give a max contract, and we could talk about that later. And you have Vucevic, who's in his 30s, going to be 31. Are you waiting for a point guard development? You're already developing somebody with Patrick Williams. And we've seen that it could go either way, right? So a lot of it does feel with this Bulls team that you're trying to win right now. And how feasible that is, that's its own thing. But I do find it interesting to see how, with Kobe White stepping up, how does that change your outlook for a point guard? Does it even change your outlook for a point guard? I do think there's something to be said about finding a court general who's going to get everybody where they need to be and know when to feed a certain player. Know when not to be shy, when to attack the defense, when to kind of put the pedal off of the gas. And again, we're hearing the rumors about something like a Mike Conley. I think that's a wonderful fit. See, and I think the counter would be like, well, why not bring in a Derrick Rose, or why not bring in a Russell Westbrook? Just the stereotypical names whenever you're talking about point guards. And while I like the Derrick Rose thing, some of that's nostalgia. You don't need anybody that's just going to go off for 25. Does it help? Yeah, of course. But you need somebody who's going to flow with the offense, know when to get theirs, but more importantly, knows how to jumpstart that offense more often than not, especially if you're really trying to get the best out of 2 All-Stars. And, one of these other notes that I brought up is we're talking about, development of Kobe White, right? And what you're going to need to bring in a point guard. And then obviously you're going to need money, and a lot of that has to deal with Lauri being gone. But I think you have a good idea with Thaddeus Young that they're going to have him as a rotation guy. Same thing with Tomas Satoransky. I think you're going to try your best to re-sign Daniel Tice. So out of that group, that means Lauri's gone. And I think you have to be comfortable with that. That they're trying their best to get a professional lineup. I actually have the NBA references right here. And of course, like we say, you're looking at a Vucevic who's still going to be on here for a few years. Zach LaVine, Thaddeus Young, Satoransky, Alfarico Minu, Christian Felicio is finally off the books. Patrick Williams, obviously. Lauri is off the books. Kobe White's obviously going to stay on the books. But Daniel Tice is going to be gone. Garrett Temple, Denzel Valentine are all going to be free agents. Troy Brown will be back for another season. And Ryan Arcidiacono has a team option. Javonte Green, also a free agent after this year. So they're going to have some cap space. But it brings on to, okay, you start figuring out your rotation. You're going to get some other veterans. That's another thing I don't think Bulls fans understand is maybe they don't get these max contract guys during this free agency. but they're going to get professional ball players on this team to fill out that bench to better suit Billy Donovan's coaching style and his game plan. That should be very exciting for Bulls fans, for NBA fans. You know, they inherited a lot of these guys, and we saw them make a lot of moves to get rid of Otto Porter, Wendell Carter, and Daniel Gafford. And now we're seeing that a lot of these contracts are expiring. They're going to bring in their own dudes. And I trust the guys in the front office right now to bring in some of these contracts that are smart. Guys who want to win. Guys who want to be part of this experience and try to make these chess moves to put yourself in a position, if you can, to get that third piece, that other piece, whatever it may be, to put yourself in true contention. Whether it's title contention or it's conference finals contention, whatever they may be, put yourself in that next step. And you're seeing it with these contracts and who they're signing, who they're not signing, who they're going to let go. Because I do think Laurie will be gone. And we were talking about here on Basketball Reference, the Zach LaVine thing. And this is something we could talk about later down the road, but we need to start wondering, what are the Bulls going to do max contract-wise with Zach LaVine? If you're asking me right now, I think Zach LaVine is a max contract, especially in today's NBA. He's earned it. He's somebody that whenever he wants can take over a game. What I want from Zach LaVine, and this isn't a personal challenge to him or anything, what I would like just to see is him to get in the playoffs, feel some of that pressure, and really just blossom into that next tier of stardom in the NBA. We know there's tiers to this thing, and we all want to see Zach LaVine take not only himself, along with Vucevic, but this entire franchise back to that prestige, back to that level. And, you know, whether you win number 7 or not, you got to start climbing that ladder. There's a progression. We all know that about winning championships in the NBA. And you got to start that process. They have. And Zach being here for the long run, I think him, along with Vooch and Patrick Williams, Kobe White, you'll see what happens with some rotational guys. This becomes a destination. And you get the right veteran point guard, who knows? We might be going to Sizzler when it comes to this thing. And by then, it's no question Zach LaVine should be getting a contract extension, a max contract extension. And I think finally here on my notes, I brought up the future is bright. And it goes back to perception. You know, if you're here on Sports from the Couch on Mercado Airwaves, you know how bad things seem for the Chicago Bears. And on one night, perception changed. And now momentum, whatever energy is in the universe, the sports universe, has changed for the Chicago Bears. Same thing with the Bulls. It happened when the firing of John Paxson, Gar Forman, and Jim Boylan. That was one thing, right? That shook things up. And then that Vooch trade happened. Whether they make the playoffs or not, the fact is that we saw them go for it, take a risk, and it's paying off. Whether, again, we got to wait for it long term. But it's something that we never felt the other regime would do. And then in the draft, getting a Patrick Williams. Something that not everybody saw, but we see the raw talent. And a lot of that for that old regime was the established talent, right? The very high floor, but the very low ceiling. And you should just be excited about the possibility that the sleeping giants, a lot of NBA insiders have always called the Chicago Bulls and the NBA the sleeping giant. Because if you could get this franchise to become one of these marquee teams like it's been before, on prime time, in the conference finals, in the NBA finals, creating new rivalries, and you're creating these new stars, that is good for the league. And for Bulls fans, you should be excited about that. Because you are legitimately in a spot now where your fortunes can change. And they have all the goodwill from the NBA, from insiders, from players, that things are looking bright. And you not only look bright just because of circumstance, you're also in a brighter spot, a better spot. Because the people in charge made moves that brought in talent that are going to stabilize it. And all these questions, whether it's the roster, extensions, drafts, play-ins, the foundation is there. Whether you win number 7, that's up in the air. Who knows who wins the finals this year? Who knows if the Brooklyn Nets ever win a finals, the way they're put together? What happens if LeBron is hurt going into the NBA playoffs? What if they're in a playing game and Anthony Davis has back spasms? Nobody knows who's going to win the finals. We can make educated guesses. But having a foundation puts you in a position you're going to have a shot, a bite at the apple. And as a Bulls fan, as a basketball lover, and some of you who have been waiting for this place in fandom since the Derrick Rose era, you should be excited. But with that, I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about the Chicago Bulls and their future? The NBA, a very interesting few years down the pipeline. We're talking about teams like the New York Knicks, the Chicago Bulls. What's going to happen if Giannis wins a title in Milwaukee? Will he end up in Miami or LA? Will the Clippers be a finals contender? Will the Brooklyn Nets put it together? This is a wonderful time in the NBA. All this talk about ratings, it doesn't matter. If you love the damn thing, watch it. And we are getting so close to what might be just a once-in-a-lifetime experience of this play-in time. But I want to know your thoughts. Do the Bulls make the play-in? Do they make the playoffs? Are you excited about their future? Your thoughts of the current regime, your excitement level for your Chicago Bulls, or just if you're a hoop head, let me know your thoughts on the team here in the Windy City. I'm all over the universe. I'm on Twitter at Mike and Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media. You can follow the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. With that, thank you guys so much for making us a part of your day. Don't forget, like us everywhere in the universe at Mercado Airwaves. Like, rate, review, and subscribe to us wherever you get your favorite podcast. You can support us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have swag at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Mercado Airwaves. You can see our ugly mugs. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy all the games. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We will see you next time here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.